Hello, welcome back to my no spend year, and today I thought I would share with you some of my inspiration for the year. So I'm going to start off, let's get right into it, no long introductions. My favourite series ever was The Good Life. I absolutely love it. It makes me laugh every time I watch it. Got given these videos, gosh, good few years ago now. And The Good Life is basically about Tom and Barbara. It was made in the 1970s, so it's probably a little bit dated now, but it's still very funny if you ever get a chance to watch it. And basically it's about Tom and Barbara, and Tom gives up his job in a big company and they go self-sufficient. And they basically give up money and be self-sufficient. It's quite funny, and some of it is probably a bit unrealistic, but it is a good watch, and it is quite inspirational of living without things and how they make do and stuff. And I've been making my own Christmas crackers for years, since I watched the Christmas edition of this where they were making their own crackers. And yes, we always shout bang very loudly when we pull them because there's no bangs in them. So I would definitely recommend this. The Good Life. There might quite a few. They're all on DVD. I'm not sure if they're on iPlayer or on YouTube. Have a look. Tom and Barbara giving up money and living the good life. I do love a bit of gardening myself. However, whether it actually saves you a lot of money these days, because with all the price wars with the supermarket and all the cheap veg and things, I'm not sure, but I love doing a bit of gardening, and I will be doing a little bit of gardening this year as part of my frugal year, so stay tuned for that and some money saving gardening tips. So The Good Life. The other things I'm taking great inspiration from is books, and I've actually read some really good books about living without money. I just find that if I do these two first, this is from the same guy. This is a guy called Mark Boyle. He became the moneyless man. He actually set out to live without money for a year and ended up doing it for 3 years because he enjoyed it so much and found that it was quite liberating. It's a really good read, this book. You could probably get it from your local library. The Moneyless Man. Now, he does live on his own. He hasn't got a family to support, and he does do a lot of skip diving, which is something we don't have skips in the middle of the mountains and stuff, but and I know it's getting harder and harder to do skip diving, but he does do a lot of that. So he basically is living off other people's waste, but you know, that's quite a good thing, sharing around and sharing resources and stopping the stuff going into landfill. But I don't know how easy it would have been to do the whole year without skip diving, but he did that, and it's a very, very interesting read, and it does give you a lot of inspiration of giving up certain things and changing your mindset and doing that money. He also made wrote the Moneyless manifesto. He set up this sort of free economy where people share their skills, just to share skills rather than sharing money. So instead of, if I don't know, dug the garden for you, instead of you paying me money, you would come and, I don't know, clean my house type of thing, this sort of thing. But these are very good. These are a very good read, especially this one. I really enjoyed that one. He then went on, after he did that, to write this one, which he doesn't just give up money, he's giving up technology. And sometimes I can honestly see why. It does sort of, perhaps I was born in the wrong era. It fills me with horror sometimes. I'm not very technical. As you'll notice with my videos and everything, it's all pretty basic. Me and technology are not firm friends at all. And I am sort of being dragged kicking and screaming into the modern world. So he went and turned his back on it. Very sensible of him, I think. And this, again, he lives without technology and a lot of labour-saving devices. And it's called The Way Home. Mark Boyle again. Really, really good read. I would very much recommend these books. Very inspirational, whether you're giving up money or not, but it's a very good read. So they've been very inspirational. The Home Front. Now, this was a series, I think it's, gosh, quite a long time ago now, over 20 years ago, on the television here in the UK. It's called The 1940s House. And they took a modern family and sent them back in time where they kitted out a house as in the 1940s. I love the 1940s. I have a very soft spot for it. I just thought it was amazing how people made do, how they survived. I have my parents' sort of stories and memories. Some aren't very good, some are pretty harrowing, and how they all sort of survived the war. So it wasn't all sort of sugar plums and light and everybody pulling together. There was some pretty tough times going on, and some pretty awful things too. But they were very resourceful, very resourceful. And they taught me that nothing that you ever learn is wasted. And I do have a little soft spot. I love a lot of the fashion and a lot of the make-do men sort of culture of it, and how they had to do with so little and they got through it all. And I mean, I take my hat off to them. They did amazing. And so I love the 1940s. And they did this series on the TV where they took this family back, and they lived in a 1940s house, and they set it up like it was in the war. They had to live on rationing, and they had a shelter in the back garden that they had to go in when there was pretend air raids there. And basically they did 9 weeks, I think it was, and they brought out the book to go with it. And again, I think this is really inspirational because it's going back to another time. And on the home front, they didn't have lots of things, not necessarily because of the lack of money, but because of the lack of resources. I can remember my mum showing her ration book to me. She still had some of the old ration books left, and she showed them to me, and she said it didn't matter if you had enough money to buy the things. Unless you had enough coupons for it, you couldn't buy the item. You had to do without it. It wasn't all about money, it was about availability, and it was about doing without. So it was quite a resourceful time, which is very inspirational for living with less. So this was the 1940s house, and I read this book recently. I had it, say, years ago when the TV series came out. I had it as a present for birthday or Christmas or something, because my family knew I'd absolutely love it, and I watched the series. And I did read it again recently, and again I enjoyed it, and I took some inspiration from that. So that is one of my war sort of inspirations. There's more. This, Sucking Eggs. This is Patricia Nicol. I've read this, gosh, over 20 years ago again. And again, it's based on the war years and a lady who tried to live like that, with less clothes and less food and making do. And there's a lot of facts and figures about what happened in the war, and about rationing, and what you were allowed to have and what you weren't allowed to have, and how people made do, and some of the mock recipes. And it's a very interesting read. It's you can see, it's been well thumbed through, and I've read it several times. And it's still a really good read, and again very good for a no spend year trying to live with less. Oh, on that note, I have got Make Do and Mend. This is the leaflets that they produced in the Second World War to help people doing repairs and mending clothes. I mean, I'm not very good at sewing. I have to confess, I've never had knitting. I did loads of knitting back in the day before the arthritis, but I've never been any good with sewing. I've still got the scar on my finger from my mum's treadle sewing machine, where I got the needle stuck in my finger. And when I was at school, I had to go on the electric sewing machines, and I think it took the teacher the whole lesson to unpick all my sewing from it. It was such a mess, and I was banned from the machine. So I've only ever done hand sewing, and I'll be honest, I'm not very good at it. But I mean, I can sew a button on and sew a hole up. But anyway, in here there is some quite good ideas, different ideas for things, for making do and mending and doing without things, and what you can repurpose things for and stuff like that. So that was quite a good read as well. I haven't got it here, I've got it downstairs. I forgot to bring it up. They actually did the cooking one. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now. My mind's gone blank. I'll have to show you another time. But again, it was all the leaflets produced in the war on the kitchen front and it was all about not cooking vegetables too long and recipes. I do a lot of the recipes from it because there's a whole section on not using eggs, and most of my family is vegan, they don't eat eggs. So for years I've been making cakes and things with no eggs, and I just use the wartime recipes, and I substitute dairy butter for vegan butter and make all the cakes and things. And the good thing about stuff like that is the less ingredients you need, the less it costs to make the product. So by not having to buy eggs and omitting eggs, I'm actually saving a bit of money. So there is, say, the cooking one of this as well, which I've got, which is very, very informative. And then I have several of these. Life on the Home Front. Again, this is a diary from somebody who tried to live for a year as if it was the Second World War, as in she lived on rations and she made do amended, and she didn't buy certain products that were available. It was Megan Westley. That was a very good read, very inspirational for my year, where I'll be living a bit more old-fashioned, I think, because I'm going to be making do. So that's just some of my inspiration. Obviously a lot of my other inspiration is from my parents, from their tips and tricks and things we used to do when I was a kid, which I'm looking forward to sharing with you all very soon. I hope you get a chance to look at some of those books and the videos, because they are really good. I'd really recommend them all. So until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe and give this video the old thumbs up and all that jazz. And until next time, stay very frugal.